Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. I bought this game about a couple of years ago whenever it first came out, and then I kind of forgot about it until about 2 months ago and started messing around building some ships. And so this video I wanted to kind of talk about my progression and get a little closer look at some of these things that I've got published currently. Uh, I started out, one of my first, well, when I started, I was downloading other people's blueprints and modifying them for my own purposes and really just to learn about shipbuilding in general. But this is one of my first designs, my own design that I built. Pretty garish coloring here. And I was pretty happy with this thing. It was for a level 5, I think. Let me take a look. Level 8. So I'm not sure what I have on there, but this was a design I came up with on my own, using some various ideas from other ships. You know, putting the shed doors back here with access to the fridge and armor locker and O2 tanks and whatnot. But this one, as you can see, uses container extensions for most of the exterior, which are tougher than steel, but once you lose one, you lose all your anything that was in that container. So a little bit tricky design choice to do that. So I took this ship and replaced all those containers with regular steel on the exterior. That cut down on what it could carry, but if you're using the weight and volume system, it wasn't going to be able to carry all that loot anyway. Not even sure this one, how well it works, but so I replaced all that, made a couple other modifications on the thrusters and whatnot, and this is a level 5 ship. So this one is currently in my workshop, and it's level 5. It's called the Prowler. I noticed when I spawned this one in, well, actually both of them, but I've changed the name of that one. When I spawned it in, the name was still set to Gunny. If we go, yeah. So I could change it here. If you see that, it's because I started with what was the Gunny, and that's what I normally initially named it. These two. So this is a level 5. To make it a level 10 ship. Some things changed. It now uses hardened steel instead of regular steel, and the cockpit is armored, whereas this one is not. You unlock that at level 10. I replaced 2 of the turrets with rocket turrets instead of the minigun. The hardened steel, there's no level limitation on that, but my reasoning was that as you move up in level, you're more able to gather resources for better armor. So it costs a little more to do this. The ship weighs more, and therefore it may not perform quite as well as that if they've got the same thrusters and RCS, but it's kind of a midway hop up to the next level. I also put some armoring on the engines just to make it look tougher, if nothing else. Adds a little bit of additional armor. So that's the what I call now the Prowler ship, and they're painted a little bit differently just so you can tell them apart if you happen to have both of them. This one is built off the original, the level 5 ship, so it's also level 5. I just wanted to play around with some different shapes. So this one's got a different shape profile, and also a slimmer cabin. The cockpit is only 2 blocks high, whereas these are 3 blocks high. So I shaved off the whole top level of this thing. If we drop it down to the ground, let me jump out. Oop. You can see it's a slimmer profile. I added an additional harvest tool. It's got 2 additional guns, so it's got 5 guns up here instead of 3. And it's actually a little bit cheaper to build than that one is, the other level 5 one. Mostly because I shaved off a little bit of height to it, and I'm not sure why else it's cheaper, but it is actually a few blocks cheaper, very similar in cost, but not more expensive. And you get additional guns and additional harvester. I think they've got about the same amount of storage, if not exactly the same. I use this old cockpit. It's what they call a legacy cockpit. It's got some interesting dash, winky blinkies and whatnot on it. But there's basically 2 different cockpits. Let's see, hovercraft, and so this one is 2 blocks high, that one is 2 blocks high, and this one is also 2 blocks high, 3 by 2 by 6. This is a very similar look to this one. So if you don't mind it being 1 block longer, you see this 3 by 3 by 5. The length of it is 5 blocks. This one is 6 blocks in length, but it's 1 block slimmer in height. So if you don't mind it being 1 block longer and you like that style, this might be a good alternative. You gain an extra row or under the cockpit, where you can add additional generators or RCS or whatever. If you don't mind lengthening your ship by block, that might be a good alternative. Oops. So this one and that one are currently on the workshop. I may throw this one up there too. I just built this like yesterday or the day before. Just kind of playing around. It's another level 5 ship. I'm restarting my game in Alpha 10 Survival, and so I wanted to go back through here and make me some ships to work with. Looks like this one's a block longer than that one as well. Yeah. So once I had these 2 built, I wanted, it's tough working with these various cockpits, trying to match up to whatever the profile is. That's one reason I chose this cockpit. It's fairly easy to work with. Some of them, like that number 1 and number 7 that we were just looking at, very difficult to match up with this. It's already on its way down here. The slope is, and yet you get this slope, so you're kind of forced to make it look good, continue sloping downwards, but you may not be out at the end of your ship yet. So it's kind of tough to work with, and then trying to match up anything to the backside is very difficult. This one's easy because it's basically a cube in the back, it's square in the back, and it's got a pretty standard slope in the front. Same thing with this, it's really boxy in the front, so you can deal with it pretty easily. Like this one, it's squared off in the front, so you can just continue out flat as long as you need to before slipping away. So anyway, once I got those built, I wanted a interior cockpit ship, And so I took that one and clipped off the entire side, pulled it out one so it's wider in both directions, and I think it's taller as well. But anyway, I extracted the uh, dimensions enough to get an interior cockpit, and that's how I came up with this one, level 15. You could make it level 10 pretty easily. I don't remember exactly what changed on it. I think these are plasma turrets yeah, you get these at level 15. So if you replace those with miniguns, the multi-tools I think are probably also level 15. So you just pop those out. There's one on the top, one on the bottom. Ignore that going on. When you're in God mode, the sensors kind of freak out a little bit. So I came up with this shape, and I'm pretty happy with it, with the profile. I like the little side profile and the little thing right here, kind of a guard on the engines. Pretty happy with the overall shape. I added an additional harvester. It's got a pretty aggressive, mean look to it. On the interior, copied, I think it's Crazy Z's Loot Hopper 2000 or 200, whatever it's named. His hovercraft has got basically this layout, so I stole the design out of that for this ship. I recolored it and changed a few things, but to match my particular theme. But if you look in the link of this ship, I've got a link to his ship. He does some nice work, Crazy Z. So this is the interior. I tend to play single player games, but I threw a couple passenger seats in here just in case somebody can make use of them. So this was made big enough to get the multi-tool and rocket launcher up here. Added some additional weapons to it, rocket launchers, so this one's got 2 or 3 more turrets than the smaller ship does, and an interior cockpit. So that's level 15. Now renamed it Growler. And this one is combat steel all the way around on the exterior, and got probably too many hover engines, but it works. So there you go. Now that ship, the things I did not like about it is the over and under multi-tools are kind of difficult to deal with. This one won't aim down low enough to get stuff hit the ground, and this one won't aim high enough to get stuff up high. So you can use this to get the ground stuff, the low stuff. They both do left and right pretty well. And this to get the upper stuff. But there may be a sweet spot in the middle that's tough to get at. So not an ideal setup for the multi-tools when you're salvaging something. The other, that's mostly it. But when I wanted to work up to a bigger ship, I wanted to end up with an artillery turret in the top. Not enough room to do that here. So let's take a look at this one. This was my first attempt to do a level 20 Growler, and so I expanded it to make it wider to try and get the artillery turret, but well, I also added a drone hatch to the top where you can pop out. So I've got it wide enough, but it's not long enough. The problem with this 22.5 degree slope is that, and raising the height as well, and you continue that slope, you have to move even further and further out, because by the time you get up to that slope, you're still pushing yourself further and further in. So I finally got it wide enough, but it's still not long enough, and you can see to make it longer, I'd have to add not just one more block, but like two more blocks to get one block by the time the slope got up there. So that was kind of this was an aborted attempt. Probably not going to finish this one. Just, you can see it's kind of halfway done on the interior. And I really didn't like the overall shape of it anymore. Really just an aesthetic thing, but I did like a few things. I changed the back engine mount to house additional engines. I changed the front mounts as well to add some sloping. The original, go down here, it's just flat on top. I did kind of curve shape the bottom of it, but it's flat on top. And on this one, I did kind of like this blunt nose to it. I think it makes it look a little more aggressive. So I like that, but I lost that by going to this. It's very similar, but it just doesn't round the corner like it used to. So this one is another attempt at it. And I changed some things that let me widen it out quicker, and that gave me plenty of room for this drone hatch, as well as, well, actually this one's not the artillery one. I guess it could be. I have to think about that. This is really my most recent modification of the Growler that I'm working with, I think. Yeah, so I've widened the interior by 2 blocks. So this row and this row are new. These seats used to be pretty close together. But it's basically the same interior, a little bit rounded at the back on those 2 blocks. But basically the same. You got more headroom. That was the other thing I didn't like about just the original. Yeah. When you're playing in the game, I don't really like a 3 block height, 1, 2, 3, because it puts your head right up against the ceiling, so you feel a little more cramped. That was one thing I'd like to do away with, and I did that in here, but not so much. See, it's still 3 blocks. Well, it's 3 blocks here, but this block is shaved up, so it's actually, I make use of the 4th block on a lot of the ceiling by having the door here. It really opens that up. So you're still cramped right here when you first come in. You're still cramped up under the cockpit, which you don't need to get to be at. You can hop in the seat from here. And also on these ships, it's probably going to make a liar out of me, but oops, get back up to hover height. When you first jump out of the cockpit, wherever possible in my ships, you can hit F5 from there, and I can't do it, but if I open the door I can do it. Open the hatch first. That gives you access to the drain hatch. So as soon as you pop out of the seat, standing in this block is where you can do it best from. Here I was just playing around with some of the new round shapes in Alpha 10. I had a bar across here, but that made me pop out over here instead of back here when I came out of the seat, so I'm still just playing around with that a little bit. So this is the new, my latest work in progress. Prior to this one, again, this is kind of an aborted attempt at getting an artillery turret in. I made this one. By the way, I'm probably going to at least subname this the wide body. So it's got a wider cockpit than the Growler. So it's still level 15, but it's the wide body 15. I'll probably end up publishing that. This one was on the way to that one. I worked on it first, but I haven't finished it. So I was still trying to get the artillery turret in, which is right here. So it's a 5x5 square that you need for that. And that was the other problem with this. You know, by the time I started getting the width right, I was still lacking room to get these turrets up here. So that made this little funny area that I couldn't really fill in properly. I would have had to widen it out again and probably run into all the same problems again, which I kind of did here. So it's got a 3 wide cockpit area, similar to the wide body over there, but then it's got additional widening done to it, and a change in, I talked about this when I was showing my shape boat for Alpha 10. There's some new blocks that allow you to switch off to a 45 and easily switch between a 22.5 and 45 degree slopes. So that got me to, allowed me to get wider quicker before going back to that slope. This one hasn't been textured, and actually the interior is pretty rough right now. Got big holes where I widened it. But I was able to get the artillery turret in here and still kind of easily slope up to it. The other thing about the artillery turret is that it's 2 blocks tall, the retractable one, and so it eats into your headroom. So I didn't want that. I didn't want it dropping another block down into my headroom here, so I sloped up to it on the outside. But that requires an additional width block to be able to do that. So a lot of different things coming into play. Here, I'm just playing around with how I'm going to finish off the sides. Haven't done that yet, but I transferred, when I did this one, I redid these engine pods and was happy with that, so I transferred those over to here, and back, I think back to the wide body as well. Yeah. So those have got the reworked things. So that one's really just a work in progress. My main issue with it right now is it's got this big flat barn looking thing on the side, the broad side of a barn. With it painted the darker color, it's maybe not as noticeable, but just really not happy with that profile right now. Some of this I'm pretty happy with. Oh, that was the other thing. When I was making this one, I wanted to get the multi-turrets from, instead of being top and bottom, to be side to side. This one can point way over this way, this one can point way over that way, and they both can point way up and down. So that's a much better arrangement for the multi-turrets for salvaging. So I wanted to achieve that, and I did that on the wide body here. I changed that to a minigun turret down here, but these are actually the salvage. So I've got the multi-tools in here instead of the original Growler setup. So like I said, I'm fairly happy with that. Just don't like these big flat cut-off sides. So I'm still in the process of working on that. The Cyclone was another from scratch design. It's basically just a cube. I think I originally named it the Cube, but I really just started out playing with this cockpit shape where it kind of wraps around and up to the top on this thing, and trying to get room for all my thrusters and weapons. It used to be a weapon here as well, but it blocked this weapon, and so I just threw a spotlight in there. On the interior, there's some, anytime you see these scaffolding blocks interior, it's just an easy way to find empty space in my ships. I'm not utilizing currently, so if you need to put more tanks or RCS or whatever, you can come in here and take these blocks out and replace them with whatever you need. So, and this was just a happy accident. It's really for aesthetics. The little chunks taken out of here. You can fill in those blocks if you want more armor or don't like that, but I just left it like that. When I was building up this slope, I had left one out or left two out and decided just to repeat that pattern. So kind of big flat spots. I put 4 turrets up here. I've got the, again, if you're standing where you came out of the chair, you can hit F5, and in this one you don't even have to open the door first. You can open it with the drone. So that's the drone hatch. This is a very similar interior to the Growler and the Prowlers, or the Growler anyway. It's the one that I stole from the loot lifter, Crazy Z ship. But I've changed it to be a little more plush inside, and some mahogany paneling, and just my idea of what more luxury type ship would look like. And this one, to get the additional, this one's got 4 blocks height and interior, but on the way out I had to put a little slope in here, and this one's got the side multi-turrets as well. I think I built that one after the Growler, maybe before the Growler, but then I took this ship and expanded it to get the artillery turret for level 20. So it's still got the 4 rocket turrets up top, but it adds an artillery turret. Still got the same drone hatch on it, but the shaping had to change quite a bit, or I wanted it to anyway. So these are stair-step now. I added additional turrets to the side. It's a bigger ship. It's longer than that Cyclone, and wider. It's the biggest one to date, except for the new one that I'm working on. This grading up here, mostly for aesthetics, just to make it a little tougher looking. It does add another 200 hit points to anything trying to shoot through the cockpit. These are armored, I think armored glass, so they've got 150 hit points, adds another 200. It's going to catch some of the shots. But it's got 4 Gatlings in the front as well. Now this particular one, and maybe that one too, is got a ton of RCS. In fact, this whole layer is dedicated to RCS. So it's got 256 total RCS in it, which is just a crazy amount, and you can see it uses a crazy amount of CPU because of that. In fact, yeah, I've got max load. So max load activates all 256 RCS. If you turn that off, you see this drop back. I think there's like 70 of them that are disabled when you do that, if you're not using them all. Alpha 10, they really, these numbers are not correct, roll, pitch, and yaw. For the RCS you have, I was like really excited when I saw that. I was like, woo, I don't have to have 256 RCS in here anymore. Well, you kind of still do. It still maneuvers like it did in 9.6 with those RCS, but these numbers used to be like 2 or 4 or something, and now it's 200. So until they get that straightened out, I'm not going to change the number of RCS. I really hope they do change, especially if they're going to start enforcing the CPU. You see I've got even more of them stacked up here. They're all over the ship. I got more back here. I've still got some empty room back here. All these scaffolding blocks, you can put whatever you want to in there. This one was tested for weight and volume, so that's why I've got all this empty space. It could have been additional cargo containers or whatever, fuel tanks or But so is this the bigger one? Yeah. So interior very similar to the lower level Cyclone, but just mostly more room on the outside to account for the additional weapons and the artillery turret. So that's a pretty good look at my progression through like the last month or two. I've had some other ships, the couple capital ships over there, an additional video, and went over some of these ships in that same video as well. I'm also working on a base, but I think I'll do that in another video as well. Basically, after I built these capital ships, I wanted somewhere to park my capital ship at my base. And what a lot of times what you'll do is you'll have your base, and then you may have a separate base that is a landing pad that you can just park out here, but then it's got its own core and its own fuel and for running the lights or solar or whatever. And I wanted to combine the two into one, and that's the idea behind this base. It's not finished yet, but it's designed to be placed out over the water. I guess I'll just go ahead and show it now. The double stripes here on the pillars, that should be your water line. So when you're placing it, there's a single bar on this part that goes out on land. There's a single line on it along with some yellow, bright yellow, to show kind of where that line is. It's the same line as that water line, that white line there. But you can see a lot of this got buried up here. It's tough to find. See, this is all buried. It's tough to find a flat enough spot to put something this big. So I'm still playing around with the dimensions and the exact setup. But this thing has got a wharf area so that you can put your water extractors easily. You can just walk out here and have them lined up out here somewhere. And this is also where the utilities go. So you get your fuel and oxygen, solar capacitors, backup generators. Alpha 10 is kind of weird. When I first put this thing here, I didn't have any fuel in these tanks. And yet the generators were running. So I don't know if they're running off of the solar capacitors or what, or if that's just a glitch. But the base has got 15 large solar panels and designed to primarily run off of that. So, but there's two backup generators down here, your oxygen tanks. This is a new cargo box where you might put your spare fuel or whatnot. And you can see this is just under the wharf here area, under the deck. There's another generator over there. And if you need more room, there's plenty of room to build out up to the front of this area, and of course the whole underside of this thing you can use. If you get it placed right, and by that I mean you get the water line right. If you put it too low, you're going to be walking in water right here instead of just above it. But so we've got all this room to mess with down here. I put a couple sensor guns out here to keep the water critters, if they manage to get up on here. You can set all your sentry guns to shoot predators. Another issue I'm having with this is where the farm is up above, and so I had to put some blocks here. I don't have the grow plots in there right now. I had to put some blocks here to make this thing airtight, to cover up the holes that I've got for the farm area. But anyway, if we go up in the bottom here, I put a little window here so you can look down into the utility room. Another issue with this base in general is using these fancy windows, the higher level windows. causes it to require Sathium to build them. To build levels, not a problem. It's just a question of whether or not you can gather enough Sathium to get this thing built. I do like these windows. They look cool. But I'm using regular windows up here instead of armored windows, just to cut down on the Sathium costs. This is currently set up as a level 7 base, so you can build it early on if you can gather. The whole outside landing pad is made out of wood. Stone, concrete is what this building is made out of. And then there's a handful of silicon, but you can see the Sathiums. You need 180 Sathium to handle all these windows, but which is not too bad, but you got to find some to start with. I've got one of each grow plot in here right now. I was just taking a look. The grow plots extend into here, and so you can see this is a steel one here, which you cannot retexture these things. And so because it's the roof for down here, steel I can deal with. I just make the rest of the ceiling, that cabinet texture. This one, the concrete one, wouldn't be bad either. I'm sorry, that's wood. What? That's the concrete one over here, which is basically this kind of tarmac pattern. So that wouldn't be bad. I was just trying the different ones here. That one's wood. I thought that looked different. I thought that was like wood planks. But the rest of these are currently scaffolding blocks. So this is the hangar bay down here. It ramps down far enough to where a ramp will take it down to the water level. But I didn't want the water critters, trying to get in this way. So it does separate out with a ramp to get the rest of the way down to the water, so that it extends when you need it, when you're trying to get a hovercraft up in here. But once you get inside, it pulls up, keeps the critters away. But either way, I've got another sentry gun back here. These are the solar panels. Some of them are here, and the rest of them are on this side, all along here. So if you can take advantage of that to face towards the sun, great. If not, maybe a problem. Actually, if this does not work out for you, this original base was built, you can fit all 15 right here, laying down flat, all 15 solar panels. So you can get rid of that altogether if you need to, and just move them up here. So I've left this pretty open right now. There is actually I didn't build a building up here or anything to hold that, because I wanted the user to have some flexibility, but there is this elevator that goes down to the hangar and where we just came from out in the wharf. So that takes us, that's the hangar area. Up here is where the grow plots are, currently at least. Maybe you can put them on, well, out, that would be outside. But I've got 2 sets of 9 here and 2 sets of 9 there. You could expand that out, and you could double that if you wanted to, using this area here. This is all kind of work in progress in here. I've got a pretty open concept right now. I was going to put a deconstructor right here. Once you get high enough level, you put stuff in here that you want deconstructed, and it just feeds out of there and back into the main material bay. Speaking of which, I've got 2 container controllers here, and they feed down here, so you can add as much storage as you want. Currently, I've just got these handful to show where they are. I put a non-conductive row in between them, and you can expand these out. So that's where utilizing that room down below instead of cluttering up this area with containers. I got a place marked off for a furnace in here. You can, from here, with the furnace in there, you can open these doors and access the furnace if you had one there. And that keeps you away from the heat of the furnace. Like I said, this is all a work in progress. Haven't decided what I'm going to do with it yet. If we go back out here, this area ended up really not being used, so I may blow this wall out and expand it out here somewhere. The turret towers, I've got one on each corner of this thing, and then a couple in the center, and then I've got these two that are right here at the building. My plan, I think, currently is just to include one minigun turret or cannon turret, either one, here, and let you decide where to put the rest of them. The sentries, I've got, I think you can only have 8 on a base, and I've got all 8 of them. I've put one here to kind of cover this area if anything gets up onto the platform here, and then there's one over here at this corner, one at this corner, and then I put 2 of them out here, one at each of these corners, to keep critters from walking up the ramp here. With the new, there's one here, with the new base attack scenarios in Alpha 10, I'm not sure how all this is going to work, whether or not sufficient. You may have landing crew ships come and land on your pad and unload their guys right there on your pad, or they may do it out there, and these guns may help take care of them. But you can put a turret on top of any of these, minigun or cannon or whatever, on top of any of these pads. Again, not really tested in Alpha 10 yet. I'm using a few of the new blocks somewhere. I don't remember where right now, but I at least intend to maybe use some of the new blocks inside here somewhere. That's about it. I'm really kind of a little bit stumped on what else to do. Currently it's level 7. I got an armor locker. It's a really open concept right now, and I may just leave it that way instead of sectioning it off into a bunch of little rooms. It's a little easier to move around in right now, and you can kind of build it out as you grow and level. So that's about it. Thanks for watching, and hope you find it useful, and hope to see you next time. Take care.